Entrepreneurialism. His goal is for us to understand what to do with ideas, where they come from, and what to do with them. Right.
Hi, my name is Trey. I'm an entrepreneur. I've 7 businesses and rental income and a charter boat. And does anybody else need a 12-step program as bad as I do? How many of you are entrepreneurs today? Pretty good count. And most of the rest of you want to start businesses. What is entrepreneurialism? Does anybody want to suggest a definition? I had somebody tell me once that entrepreneurism is entrepreneurism. That means you don't have any money when you're trying to do a business. I vehemently disagree. I think entrepreneurialism is one of those things that when you see it, you know what it is, but it is hard to define. You've got someone who is an inventor, they're kind of an entrepreneur. You've got someone who starts businesses, maybe small businesses, maybe large businesses. You have people who run a business on a day-to-day basis. And you have people who are VC funded, who start major organizations. These are all people that are entrepreneurs. Would we all agree? We asked a question on a board one time about what is innovation. And one of the questions that came back was, well, to define it is to destroy it. That's just bunk. Just don't even think about that. Innovation is something rather important. It's one of the stages of entrepreneurialism. And without innovation, you don't have any way to have entrepreneurialism. The education process, and this is what I want to talk about, of entrepreneurs is a little bit lacking. An entrepreneur is someone who's not necessarily a joiner. Not necessarily someone who wants to fit in the box. Because if you're a joiner and somebody who wants to fit in the box, you'll go and get a job. It's at that point where you don't like that anymore, and maybe you were raised in an environment where you don't want to follow all the rules and you become an entrepreneur. Both sides of my family were entrepreneurs for generations and generations, including my second favorite entrepreneurial activity, which is running moonshine. You can ask me later what my first entrepreneurial favorite is. Probably yes. Kidding along those lines, except for my parents. My parents were neither entrepreneurs. They both said enough with that. But then I became an entrepreneur, and my parents like, oh gosh, just like your grandparents and their grandparents, and on and on. But I don't think it's a genetic thing. It's how you're raised, and it's what your belief structure is, and thinking and having faith that you can make a difference and that you can do something. When you want to start a business, there's courses you can take. You can go down to the Better Business Bureau and probably take some courses. You can go to SCORE and you can take some courses. You can go to the University of Texas, St. Ed's. There's all kinds of organizations that will teach you about being an entrepreneur. But is this really what you need to be an entrepreneur? They might teach you some book smarts, but what they're doing is they're having you join and get their opinion and their thoughts on something which is actually not what it is you're doing. You're doing something a little bit different than the beaten path. And I have to tell you that maybe the absolute opposite of entrepreneurialism is probably the standard education model as you see it, where they are tenured, have secured jobs, and don't have the risk that as an entrepreneur that you have. We actually think that this whole education system for entrepreneurs is a little bit limited. You may go take a course and learn some information, and then, well, how's it go? You forget half of it in the first 20 minutes, the second half in the next 30 minutes, and so you're left with nothing. We have found that meeting on a weekly basis, that we get these ideas brought up again and again, and we get better and better at things. And so along this continuum of what is an entrepreneur, articulate business is one of those educational parts that we think is stronger than going and taking the course, because you're going to lose all that information really quickly. But this is actually not why I'm here to talk. I wanted to talk to you about something that's near and dear to my heart. I was a physicist at one point in a prior life, and I liked to invent things. And if you were to put everything down, I actually am more of an inventor than an entrepreneur or a business owner. I come up with ideas and I turn them into businesses. That's why I have 7 businesses right now. I also am kind of a control freak, and I find that for me to get anything done, I have to have lots of things going on at one time, so I can't do them all myself. It's just not physically possible. So I do lots of things simultaneously, so I have to have people help me. The innovation process is kind of unique. It's what comes before an entrepreneur. Where do you go to learn to be an inventor? Where do you go to learn to be an innovator? You don't. You really don't. Not only that, let me back up a second. One of my businesses is a company called Panadia, where we get patents and we get them commercialized all across the globe. And so we have found some things that we think are pretty profound, and it is that innovators are very distinctly pointed in the wrong direction. If you come up with an idea, maybe a new widget, and you go down to SCORE, you go to St. Ed's, what are they going to tell you to do? Create a business plan. Exactly. Create a business plan, sign up for one of our courses, and we'll teach you everything you need to know about starting a business. But I don't want to start a business. I'm an innovator. I come up with ideas. I don't want to spend the next 10 years of my life raising capital, starting a business, not being able to eat regular. So what is it that an innovator can do? Let me back up a second. When I was in college, I worked at Radio Shack. Not for very long, but I worked at Radio Shack. And one day a guy came in looking for some electronic parts. And this guy's kind of interesting, and he said, what do you do? And I said, I do physics stuff, I know electronics, whatever, I'll get you all the parts you need. He said, really? I've got this invention. Can we get together later and I'll show it to you? I said, yeah, sure. So I invited him over to my apartment, and a couple days later he came over, brought his contraption. This was scary. It looked like something that would kill people. Like it was all this baling wire, duct tape. It was crazy with a little electric motor and some chains. Oh my goodness. And the guy says, it's a self-cleaning cat box. You mean it's not a cat Skinner? It ends up this was the guy that invented the first self-cleaning cat box.
Wow.
A couple of years later, I was running a business. I needed some tech support done where the tech support technician had to come to my office and work on some of the computers. And the guy comes in, and I'm like, God, that guy looks really, really familiar. And it ends up it was the same guy. So what happened between him inventing the very first cat box, we've all seen them, they have infomercials dedicated to them, you can buy them in all the pet stores, to now being a service technician working for, I think, HP at the time.
Somebody else took his idea and did a business.
That's right. In fact, it was his brother-in-law.
He didn't know how to sell.
That's right. He had no idea. There was no education. Society in general did not have any instructions on how to go from having a good idea and doing something with it, which may or may not be to start a business around it. It actually ends up for a lot of people that are innovators, that the best thing to do is to patent that technology and license it to somebody else. Maybe have somebody help you license it, because it's your first time to do these things, and then let somebody else sell it. Here's another example. You patent some neat little gizmo that can go into the stores. You work with China, and you get 10,000 of these things made. Everybody loves them. You go to Kmart, you go to Walmart, you go to Target, and there's not any shelf space for you. You've done everything right. You've followed all the plans. You you got investment money, all the reports say it should work, but you just physically can't get on the shelf because other people want to sell their products that are bigger and stronger than your company. This is a scenario that happens all the time where you had got your idea, licensed it to someone else, and then just sat back and came up with your next invention, you'd probably been a lot better off, a lot less hassle, headache, maybe a divorce, all kinds of things happen when you're an entrepreneur. It's pretty strong stuff. So, my objective here today was to kind of open your mind a little bit. So everybody thinks of entrepreneurialism as this big giant thing. Maybe it's not really well defined, but you know it when you see it. But there's this thing that comes before entrepreneurialism, which is innovation, that then leads to entrepreneurialism. And it's important, I think, to realize that it's not necessarily the next automatic step is to become an entrepreneur. You still are an entrepreneur in a sense, but it may not be the best next step to try to create an entire business around it. Network, contact as many people as you know after you have a patent, and try to get your product licensed if that seems like the best fit. One of the things that I'd like to share with you that I have found in my life to be extremely useful. People always, how do I say this? You want to become something. You want to be a business owner. You want to be an expert at something. One of the ways to do that, other than reading all the books, spending the 2,000 man hours working on something to become an expert, but is to, somewhat along the lines of The Secret and all these other things, is to say and vocalize and tell people you are what you want to become. It sounds very simple, but if you want to say that you want to become a great public speaker, tell everybody you're a public speaker. Lo and behold, someday you might become a public speaker. If you want to be a business owner, tell everyone that you're a business owner. Start a business, start small, and over time, you will become a business owner. You will change the way you think about all the little things in your life by verbalizing that, and you will become what you say you are. And that includes telling everybody you're a millionaire, or a billionaire, or a trillionaire. My personal goal is to have a private space station.